Hi again. The next book in the series on self-protection is by two guys who I knew when I used to attend the training conferences in the United States. I got to know them both quite well, and they're two of the most respected instructors in the field. And they collaborated together on this book, Defensive Living, by Ed Lovette and Dave Spaulding. Ed Lovett spent many years working for the CIA in the Directorate of Operations in lots and lots of nasty places in the world. And Dave Spaulding was a police officer in Montgomery County, Ohio, near Dayton. And he, at the time I first met him, was the sergeant in charge of firearms training for the Sheriff's Department. And he trained lots of other people from surrounding agencies. And then later he had to take a promotion to lieutenant and was running a counter-narcotics task force. So between them, they've got very different backgrounds. Both of them have got really good backgrounds in firearms, but their backgrounds in other fields was quite disparate, and makes for a really good combined effort into a book, shared experiences. So, like many of the books, it covers lots and lots of relevant topics, obviously. First chapter, is your mind putting your body at risk? Obviously, mindset. Then another chapter, increasing your awareness. And then they go on to discuss the color code, Jeff Cooper's color code, which has been discussed by many, many people over the years, including the Colonel himself. It's a brilliant model for situational awareness, and Ed and Dave do a great justice in this book. But one of the things in the situational awareness section is he mentions a game that the Colonel suggests for practically increasing your awareness, and you keep a chart, and every time you see somebody that you know, an acquaintance or a friend, and you spot them before they spot you, you put an O on your chart. And every time someone spots you first and says, "Hey, Den," and you look round, you put an X. And you just keep track of your situational awareness, and hopefully it increases over the days and weeks. It really makes you switch on more. The other chapters in the book include material on travel, overseas travel, and Ed in particular used a lot of examples from his work with the agency, things that happened to American government employees overseas in various third world paradises, and there's a lot of relevant information there because we're all traveling more, and it's as well to know some principles of how to survive and to prevail in various locations. The there's a section. I'm sorry, I just wanted to find out this particular one. There's a section in this where when you start to assess your personal security risk, it is helpful to begin with what you know about yourself. Do you unknowingly do things which draw attention to yourself or that make you vulnerable? Do you give off signals that make the predators salivate? Now, just that alone is really good advice. Cleaning up your body language and your level of confidence, just by demonstrating situational awareness that you're looking around, that in itself can stave off attention. If you go around with headphones on and looking down at the screen, hands in your pockets, then you're giving off signals you're vulnerable. Another section, Dave talks about the sections on willingness. I had a female cadet in a basic police academy class several years ago who was a good student. She listened well, did all the right things, and had all the answers. She shot well on the range, performing quite well against paper targets. The problem began when she moved to the live firehouse. The inside of the house was set up in a classic friend-foe building search, with each target marked in such a way that the student had to decide who should be verbally confronted and who should be dealt with using deadly force. Some of the targets were paper, but others were life-size, three-dimensional Delta human targets. She opened the door tactically, moved around the door frame until she saw the target. At this point, she froze, and I mean froze. I had to call her name several times until I could get her to snap out of her haze. She holstered her Glock 19, turned towards me stating, "I'm sorry, but I don't think I can shoot something that looks that much like a real human being." Similarly, her performance in the FAT simulator, where we have a video, she couldn't bring herself to shoot against images of live people. Now, obviously, that's a problem for someone who's going into law enforcement, but it's a problem for anyone who is carrying a firearm. You know, if you think that just having the firearm is some magic wand that wards off attackers like some sort of force field, then that's the wrong attitude. And the book does cover the whole implications of armed defense. There's a big section on the use of firearms, and the use of force, the force continuum, and what's allowed and what's permissible and what's tactically sound and so on in different circumstances. So the female cadet obviously had deficiencies in that area, which can be addressed, you know, with a good kind of program of reorientation of attitude. You can address that. But then you get the opposite, where people think that serious armed criminals are going to faint at the sight of you brandishing a weapon. And a lot of the street criminals are very, very familiar with people who carry firearms. And if you don't appear to be able to back it up with the willingness to actually fire, then they're likely to take that pistol off you. So Defensive Living by Ed and Dave, really great book. I covered Dave's book on handgun combatives in a previous video, which is another one I'd recommend. I would have liked them to have written another book, because the two of them together really imparted a lot of real good wisdom. And again, it's a book for your shelf.